HistoryWes here. Welcome to Return to Elaania. See that house right there? That was my very first spawn point in my very first game of Minecraft. Elaania is my original game world. The world that I played for about a year when I learned to play Minecraft. This house up ahead, this is the first permanent settlement that I made. My first farm. I built roads everywhere because I didn't know that you could press F3 to get your coordinates, and I got lost otherwise. My world grew and grew. I played it for about a year. Up ahead is Castle Elaania, my first attempt at a castle. Pretty pathetic looking now. I thought it was something really special at the time. This monument seemed so huge when I built it. So my world, Elaania, is covered with thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of blocks of minecart paths leading to all kinds of way stations, towers, fortresses, hunting lodges, towns. And my goal at the time seemed to be to explore as much area as I possibly could. For some reason, this spawn is located on a huge continent far away from any oceans, and as it turned out, far away from any horses too, because I spawned in a taiga. And I had to travel a long way to find the first horses. And Irontown is at the far eastern edge of my explorations. And it was there that I first found those horses, and here they are. So I played as a survival setting, but later when I started doing work following tutorials on builds like my lighthouse there, I just flipped over to creative and continued in the same world. I didn't even think about creating a separate world. So Elaania became a mishmash of all kinds of creations. As you can see here, you have to go out quite a ways before you find any new terrain that spawns 1.13 items. So, looking back, everything seems really, really primitive. The houses are all very, very simple. The road, just straight cobblestone. Actually, the road varies to different materials depending on where I am, whatever was available. This was my first big house. I thought it was super cool at the time, and that barn's just sad. Up on a hill is the fortress. I first built that because I actually got lost and I didn't know where my house was. It was just down the valley. Like I say, I eventually connected them up with roads. And for a long time, this was just a little floating box. I later added the balloon, which looks pretty good except for the stairs. Now, I must have hunted for months to find the closest village before I actually did, and it really wasn't that far away. It was just over the hill. This cottage seemed so lonely and far away. Again, just over the hill from the rest of my base. And you see there is the first village, which I named the village of Hamburg after the sounds that the villagers made. And I was very worried about them getting killed by zombies, so I built a wall and lights all around it. So Elaania is crisscrossed with all kinds of minecart paths leading to villages, and in this case, the city. I built those massive walls in creative, but then, or I'm sorry, in survival. But then I later went to creative to build the ziggurat and the big modern style house that's in the back. I didn't know anything about village breeders, but I knew if I built lots and lots of doors in my city here that villagers would breed, and they did, and so did some iron golems. Notice the lovely use of diorite and granite. There are nether portals all over the place. None of them are synced because I didn't know how to sync nether portals. As I discovered new materials to build with, I built with them, not always in the best way possible. Not using them in ways that would enhance the build, usually in some pretty pathetic ways that made them stand out for all the wrong reasons. Eventually, this right here was where I built my first large non-building structure, the big sword on the hill. I was super proud of it. I remember building that and feeling like I was so high in the air when I was in the tip of that sword. Each of these little villages I visited, I didn't do much with some of these other than maybe repair the roads, clean them up a little bit, build a minecart station for my minecart network, again, which covers tens of thousands of blocks. I still have a fondness for minecarts and traveling by minecart, but this system is not well done. First of all, most of the minecart tracks are built on what were at first walking roads. And secondly, most of these paths don't have any supports at all. They just float in the air. Only at the very end did I start building supports for them. Again, another one of my big houses. It looks pretty sad. The modern style house. Switching station. Notice the terracotta and concrete. This was a village that was destroyed with dynamite, TNT rather. This is the far eastern edge of the continent, with the lighthouse on the opposite side of the world. And eventually I found a jungle. It was thousands of blocks away to the closest jungle, and about 20,000 blocks away to the closest roofed forest, or canopied forest rather, or for that matter the closest mesa biome. Here's the fortress built around the only end portal I ever discovered. And you'll notice the names of the villages all floating in the air above them. Those are all made of black wool. I thought it was very clever at the time that they would be hovering there like they would appear on a map. And actually, I still kind of like it. And we're reaching some of the last villages that I connected to the minecart system. This was kind of as my interest swayed away from playing survival at the time and moved on to building from tutorials based in the creative. So I just basically connected these cities and moved on. Although here we go, this was a roller coaster. So what's the point in returning to this old Minecraft world? It is to use it as a setting for a new survival game. I'm going to start in survival and go back to the very beginning, to my original spawn location, and rebuild and improve all of these things that I built over the years. I'm going to take advantage of all the things that are laying down, all the resources that I've placed, and use what I've learned in the about a year since I stopped playing this world to create something that I can be proud of, something that I've built with my own sweat and blood in a survival setting, and most of all something that looks way better than these original builds that I had done when I was first playing. Until we started going through these, I forgot just how many. There's a house lit with lava. I thought that was so impressive at the time. I'd forgotten how many of these villages are connected by the minecart system. There's got to be about 25. Hobbit hole built into the side of the mountain. These two towns were extremely close, so there's just a walkway between the two. And this was the location where I built my very first ship. And there it is. It's not too horrible. So when I get to episode 1 in the series, I'll be restarting at my original base. Probably start off redoing my very first farm after maybe getting some basic supplies together. This was a village that I made. This was done in creative, but this was I went through and I did all of Raziel's modern builds. All of these houses are based on his designs and all have interiors. And this was where originally there was a village, so there are villagers in there. And we've reached this region of Elaania where I spent, probably the last 6 months fooling around, mostly in creative, building the Oracle building, building a sunken village, and copying a lot of tutorials, like the Wizard's Tower there on the left, the ship, the haunted mansion straight ahead. This too was a village, and all the villagers are up in that haunted mansion. My first mob dropper. My first horse stable. Lots of little houses and shops. A big warehouse. A big nether portal. This bridge was my own design. I was extremely proud of it at the time. And here is the haunted castle and the Japanese fortress, both of which were Grian tutorials, which I followed along. And that's the world. And here is inside the Nether, where I built the fortress and lots of minecart tracks, but never did really build a safe way to travel around. As you're going on the minecarts, you can get shot at by gas. I didn't build a proper nether network or a nether portal. So, when we come back to episode 1, I'll be in survival mode, and I'll be starting fresh with a brand new game, in the same world, in the same setting, in the original Elaania. So I hope to see you there. This is HistoryWes signing out. Have a great day, and as always, keep on Minecrafting.